You're on.
Okay. We're here at the Neshannock Garden Club Sensory Garden in Ann Van Middlesworth Park in Hillsborough Township, and we're going to install a monarch dome garden here, and I'd like to demonstrate both the flowers and the techniques we're going to use. So starting with this, what I do is I always lay out the flowers first, as you can see. This way I can determine the perimeter to dig. And all these three flowers love well-draining soil. So it's the easiest and the best for the long run for your flowers if you just dig out the entire perimeter and the whole garden. That way you can ensure that you replace the soil with well-draining soil, and that'll help them thrive for many years. So basically you'll just set the flowers up. I dug a perimeter around it, and then I moved the flowers out. And then I had dug this entire hole out, and you dig it deep, at least as deep as the pot itself. A little deeper is even more ideal, especially if you have clay soil. You really don't want the roots of these flowers sitting against clay, because clay holds a lot of moisture, and these plants don't like that. So you really want to actually dig deeper than the pot. And then now you have your deep hole, and the flowers are outside. And what I'm going to do now is amend the very bottom so that, like I said, those flowers aren't sitting up against clay. This is called Long Island compost topsoil. It's a very nicely well-draining soil. And so instead of the clay that I got down to when I dug, these flowers will now have a base of nice, well-draining soil that they really need to survive. And that's also why I dug deeper than the pot. And I'll just spread it out. We'll do a little test to see. You don't want the top of the root ball to be below grade. It's really got to be at grade or even a little higher. We have a slope here, so I'm not too worried about being much higher. But that's just a little bit more in there. Okay. All right, and now we're all ready to start planting. So this is called the Blue Fortune Anise Hyssop flower. It gets about 3 feet tall, by about 2 to 3 feet wide. It's an incredible specimen that blooms for like 4 months between July and October, all the way through October, and at least here in New Jersey. And so just be careful, obviously, when you take your plant out. It's got quite a nice root system. So I had to tap the side. And also, when you see a nice developed root system like that, you want to just loosen up the bottom at least a little bit. You can use your fingers too. Just careful, you don't want to be ripping the whole root system off. Just gently loosen up. And sometimes a little around the side, but you can see this is already loose there, so I'm not too worried about that. Okay, and then just gonna drop that one in, and we'll get the second. This design is going to use 2 of the Blue Fortune in the middle. And just be very careful. You don't want to obviously pull your plant apart when you're taking it out. And again, I'm just going to loosen the bottom. This isn't too tight with root bound, so I can just use my fingers. to raise it. Now that's about you want about a good 1 foot or so between these two plants. If these are quite nice size already. If they're smaller, make sure you account for the growth. But that would be roughly about 1 foot or so apart. Maybe just a little bit more is okay as well. That looks great. And now, so the blue fortune is really attractive to all kinds of pollinators, and including monarchs, but many other butterflies and bees absolutely love it. You don't have to deadhead it, and you'll get like the 4 months of bloom time. It's very drought tolerant and extremely deer resistant. So it's really a fantastic plant for anywhere in zones 3 to 8 it grows. So if you live in those zones, it's a fantastic plant for the monarchs as well as so many other pollinators. And then this plant is called Meadow Blazing Star. It's going to grow as high as 5 to 6 feet tall. It gets robust stalks that are really strong, so they have very little tendency to flop. And it emits a hormone that actually, there's an evolutionary thing between this plant and the monarchs. It emits a hormone the monarchs can detect from really far away. So it's literally like a beacon to call them in to your monarch dome garden. And just loosen those roots a bit. And so it's a really great on the side of the hyssop plant. Kind of flanks it like a pillar on each side. And again, so I like to be symmetrical and when I design things, and since I designed this monarch dome garden, things are symmetrical. So I'm going to plant another Meadow Blazing Star on the left side. And just also for the record, the Latin name of this is Liatris ligula stylus. And I say that because there's other Liatris that are commonly sold. And they're good, but in my opinion, this is the most superior of them for the monarchs, as well as the aesthetic beauty with its really tall height and really strong stalks. So I'm going to plant that as, again, we got a nice pillar frame with these really tall plants. The blue fortune in the middle. And now to complete the design for the monarch dome, we need, these are two what I call super attractors. They are super attractive to the monarchs to help bring them to your garden. And then you need something so that they can lay their eggs on. And that only species they lay their eggs on is milkweed. And you have to there's about maybe 10 or 15 different species of milkweed. You've got to choose the right one for the right soil. These flowers all love as much sun as you can give them and well-draining soil. And one of the best choices, probably the best choice for the typical home garden, is orange butterfly milkweed for that condition. And that's exactly what we have here. So now, unlike most other plants, orange butterfly or all milkweeds have a tap root. And they use that root to basically drill down deep into the soil so that they can get moisture even if there's a drought. And you don't want to destroy that taproot when you're planting any kind of milkweed. So unlike other plants where you saw me loosening the roots, don't loosen the roots of any milkweed you plant. Just take it right out of the flower pot. Don't mess with the roots because it's too much of a risk that you'll damage the taproot. And then just gently put it down where you want it. Very gently take it out. And this species grows just about maybe about 16 to 24 inches tall at max. So much smaller than the other ones. So in terms of positioning, you always want to make sure that this is on the south side of the other two plants, which grow much taller because it needs full sun. You don't want to shade your orange butterfly milkweed with the other plants you just placed. So always make sure it's on the south side of your planting. So with a design like this, I like to usually add about 4 orange milkweeds. As you can see, it makes a nice front, basically almost like a ground cover, but for the benefit of the monarchs so they can lay their eggs. Okay, so now we got all the plants in position. That's all that we're going to be planting. This is a very typical of the National Monarch Dome project garden. 2 hyssops, 2 meadow blazing star, 4 orange butterfly milkweed. Of course, you can use less if you have less space, but this is a really fabulous way to do it if you have the space. And it's still only small. It's probably about 4 feet long by maybe 2 feet wide. So still a really tiny space in your garden. And you can really have a really beneficial to help the monarchs in this little space of your garden. So now, since we got all the plants in, we're gonna, and like I said, we want this to be well draining soil. So we're gonna fill in all the rest of the hole with more Long Island topsoil. Obviously, we want to be careful not to squash any plant when we're putting that in. And if there's any big clumps, you kind of really want to just break those clumps up.
All here today. It's a good day to plant.
And so just fill it in with the Long Island topsoil all around, of course. You don't want to leave any roots exposed, so you got to fill up your soil to right to the top line of each root. And also, sometimes, actually most of the time when I plant, right at the very top layer, I like to use, obviously we're going to need more soil, but I want to demonstrate the next steps. And this is called Monhegan Black Earth. It's a really excellent, super quality topsoil. And I like to use it at the very top. Really maybe just about the very top, like that much of the root ball of your plant, just to give it extra nutrients at the top. It also is well draining, so it's just a kind of a nutrient rich way. You could see about that's about how much right there I might typically use. Just so at the very top line of your planting to use this product for its outstanding nutrient quality. So basically it would look like that. There you can see the meadow blazing star, I filled that top gap with the black earth right to the root ball and no higher. Also the butterfly milkweed beside it, the same. And that's exactly what we'll do for all the other plants. But just to show a couple other things, I often like to use these decorative garden trellises around the monarch dome flower. First, because it kind of signifies this is something special, a little home for the monarchs to attract to your garden. But also because all milkweeds have a toxin in them. That's why monarchs evolved so their caterpillars they only lay their eggs on milkweed, so their caterpillars eat that because it builds that toxin up in their bodies. When they become a butterfly, birds won't eat them, and the orange color of the monarch is the warning sign for the birds, so that they know, oh, well, that orange butterfly has toxin in it. I don't want to eat it. And that's exactly why monarch caterpillars only eat milkweed. So, at the same time, that amount of toxin is not something you'd really want your pets to eat. And so, in order to help avoid that, I typically use a little trellis fence like this, a nice decorative fence. Not very high, but in this case, it's really just to keep pets out. So, I would put that up all around. And it goes in the ground very easily, especially if you've just prepared the ground like I did. And so you would basically put that all around. You have a little protection, and also signifying that this is your special monarch garden. And finally, if you like to, I think this flag is really beautiful with the monarchs, and shows that we're welcoming them to this garden. And of course you can put it anywhere you'd like, but you don't want to block the sun, that's all. So something like that is a nice little touch. Let's try to put it back there. Nice little touch to your garden, and showing that you're welcoming the monarchs and really helping them, and they really need it. Their populations have decreased by as much as 90% in the last 30 years. After hundreds of thousands of years, that's a terrible tragedy. We can all pitch in and help with these flowers that are super attractive to them, and then having at least one milkweed species so they can lay their eggs and build their populations back. Thank you.